We're at Survivor Series and we kick off the show with some war games. Io Sky is ready to go to war. She's starting things off for her team, and the woman who will start off the match with her is none other than Asuka. There's so much deep history between the two, and this shows as soon as the bell rings, as they start to go at it like there's no tomorrow, trading strikes and reversals with as much fluidity as a bottle of water. Though Io is able to get on top, roundhouse kicking the Empress down. However, Asuka then kicks back herself, going off the ropes for a round the world dropkick, which Io is able to easily avoid by climbing the cage, double axe handling her skull. And after double kneeing Asuka's gut, alongside kicking her as hard as a rock in the back, the Women's Tag Team Champion desperately rolls to the other ring. But as she gets up, she's met by a picture-perfect double springboard dropkick by Io Sky. As following her signature taunt, she goes back on the offensive, sending her former teammate into the corner and dropkicking her not once, but twice. And of course, it damn sure wasn't nice. And with a rapid-fire German suplex, Io seems unstoppable. That is until Asuka is able to elbow her way back into the match, quickly dropping Io with a big striking combination. Though she's nowhere near done, kicking her right in the gut and drop kicking her right in the neck as well. And once she gets her German suplex payback, she just kicks her while she's down until she inevitably goes flat. But all this seemingly does is fire up Io as she fights back and sends the Empress of Tomorrow back to the other ring, with her of course following. Yet after targeting the surgically repaired knee, Asuka manages to evade the following attack with a kick to the gut, as she floors her with some kicks of her own. Then she locks in a submission to wear down Io, which doesn't work, as following another few counters, Io just kicks her square in the face. And after another, Asuka demands for more, which she gets, as following a duck under and leapfrog over, she goes back to the knee, though no one's home, as Asuka gets back in control with an elbow. Then she just hurls Io Sky into the structure itself, yet the Genius of the Sky is able to get back into the match and even hit the dropkick to the knee. And another dropkick is to follow suit right to the back. Then she goes back to the knee, ironically kneeing it over and over again. But once she's done, she picks her up and goes for a forearm, which gets blocked, as she gets taken down by another kick. And after throwing Io Sky to one side, she awaits the next entrant in this match, which turns out to be none other than Rhea Ripley herself. Though with Asuka distracted by her, Io Sky attempts to Irish whip her, which gets her elbowed for her troubles. But by then, Rhea is already in the match, as she throws her into the corner, ensuring her frenemy is okay before going in on the attack. And Asuka desperately fights against the disadvantage, and even though she's able to drop Io, Rhea is able to grab her and drop her down just with one boot. Then she waits for Io to get up as the two double team and take down Asuka, this time by the hair. And this gets followed up with a knee to the spine by Io Sky and a kick to the knee by Rhea Ripley. But Mommy just stomps the Empress of Tomorrow relentlessly, yet once she does relent, it's to hit a double knees and foot stomp combination onto Asuka. Then Rhea picks her up and drops her back down with a power slam, before Io then brings Asuka up and drops her with an uppercut. Though Rhea just continues the beat down. However, after finishing the punishment again, she climbs to the top, where Io Sky has also resided, as the two nailed stereo drop kicks onto the Empress of Tomorrow. Yet then nowhere near done, as with Asuka attempting to go to the other ring, she gets hoisted up and put back to the other ring by force. Then Io just deadlifts her up and plants her with a German suplex. All the while, Rhea picks her up, hands her around her throat, before just letting her descend to the mat. And following several boot washes courtesy of Io Sky, Rhea Ripley just chucks her nearly across the entire damn ring. Then she does it again, this time by the leg. Though after an air raid crash, Asuka attempts to mount a comeback, subsequently getting immediately shut down as Io grabs her by the scruff of the neck as she and Rhea line up Asuka with a plethora of double team kicks until she of course crumbles. She needs help, and following a bit more of a beatdown from Rhea Ripley, that help would arrive in the form of Kairi Sane. And she straight away proves herself useful, stopping a double team as she tries to combat Rio alongside her tag team partner. But even then, they're still struggling as Asuka nearly gets hit with a riptide. Though thankfully, Kairi breaks it up just in the nick of time before downing Rhea with a spinning back fist. However, she picks her back up and slaps her chest, even though Io then hits her in the back and sends her into the corner. Yet Asuka manages to fight back on her own, besting Io whilst Kairi handles Rhea. And as this is happening, Asuka even applies an Asuka lock onto her former stablemate. She has nowhere to go, but thankfully, as Kairi takes down Rhea, Io gets out of the hold. Though she gets dropped for her troubles, as Kairi Sane works on her leg as Rhea is able to get on top of Asuka. Yet she gets blindsided by a chop block by the Pirate Princess. Only Kairi Sane stands, for the time being at least, as she puts Rio in the separate corners as she and Asuka look to dominate, which goes horribly wrong for them as both women counter, and Rhea even sends Asuka to the other ring, though all four women eventually re-emerge in the same squared circle, as Kairi and Rhea continuously counter one another, though a standing Asuka attempts to help, doing so by assisting Kairi in suplexing Mami down. But Io quickly grabs Asuka and German suplexes her back down, yet Kairi quickly takes her down all the same, and the match is once again split in half, Asuka and Io on one side, Kairi and Rhea on the other. Though eventually, after a mighty fight, all four come back together as the Kabuki Warriors are now firmly on top in time for entrant number 3 for the babyface team, Alexa Bliss, to enter the match. Though before she does enter war, she brings some weapons with her. Although Kairi is able to use these to her advantage on both Io and Rhea, as she especially lays into Io with chair shot after chair shot. Though when she turns her attention to Little Miss Bliss, she inadvertently hits her own partner. Kairi is shook as the babyface squad begins to utterly dominate the Kabuki Warriors. Rhea even getting a receipt on Kairi with a chair. Then it's she who batters Kairi Sane with the exact same chair all the same. Though once she's finished, Alexa Bliss picks her up and puts her in a powerbomb position, only to throw her at Rhea Ripley herself. And with a kendo stick shot from Bliss and chair shot from Io to Asuka, Kairi gets planted down with an electric chair facebuster from Rhea Ripley. But Asuka won't go down without a fight, desperately trying to fight all three women by herself. Yet her body just crumbles under the pressure as she gets battered with a kendo stick for her troubles. The Kabuki Warriors are just being layered into, with Rio comboing Kairi whilst Little Miss Bliss double knees Asuka's gut, who even dives with assistance from the cage onto the Empress. And the punishment keeps on rolling to both women as Asuka gets a rolling double knees this time, whilst Kairi gets her spine nearly ripped into two. Even Twisted Bliss is able to land, leaving Kairi to fend for the wolves all by herself, obviously being dominated. Though Asuka quickly continues her sentence, with both simultaneously getting beaten up by 3 future Hall of Famers. But as Rhea goes for a dropkick, she inadvertently collides with Io Sky, giving Kairi a chance to fight back. Yet Io is almost straight away back up, with she and Rhea forcibly joining Kairi in the other ring. And from here, a brutal over the moonsault and prism trap are done in one swift motion onto poor Kairi, who gets stomped out while she taps. Though the match rages on, as after a tornado DDT from Little Miss Bliss, they finally get some reinforcements in the form of Becky Lynch. And she comes with a steel chair, battering Alexa Bliss with it before turning her attention to Rio, as she tries to tear them down with her weapon, with her even then struggling to keep the dynamic duo at bay. Though thanks to some timely assistance from Kairi, she's able to take down both Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. And she just hurls her genius in the sky into the steel back first, taunting away as Kairi hits a beautiful insane elbow onto Rhea. And whilst this is happening, Asuka is similarly destroying Bliss through an Asuka lock. Now it's the heel team who are completely and utterly on top here, though this can change in an instant. As with a counter by Io being bridged into his German suplex, Rio are able to get back on top through strikes, as both then ascend to the heavens, and whilst Rhea is able to frog splash Kairi, Io can't moonstomp Becky, who evades it and takes her down, before fending off Rhea with several shots of her own, and she just starts throwing little kicks at the pair. That is until Io rolls through one of them and it's a surprising power move, as Becky then gets manhandled by Rhea, all whilst Io holds the chair and starts swinging at it big time Bex relentlessly. So Rhea goes back to Kairi, refusing to let go of her wrist until she's satisfied with the beating, which is perfect timing for AJ Lee to enter the fray, as after grabbing a trash can, she enters her first ever War Games match, and she laser focuses in on Becky Lynch, as after a Spanish fly in the other ring, AJ decides to throw Becky and herself into that mess. As with moonsault on top of a trash can connecting onto Kairi, AJ and Io take it in turns to beat the crap out of Becky Lynch, until Io just lets AJ be. As while action continues in the other ring, all anyone can focus on is Rhea and AJ then teaming up on Becky, though after chopping and kicking her, Rhea throws her to the other side of the lion's den. Now all 7 women are in the same ring, and in part due to a numbers game, the babyfaces are able to completely control the match. Rhea Ripley and AJ Lee even mounting Asuka and Becky Lynch respectively, and beats them with punches. Though once this is done, AJ goes after Kairi Sane, whilst Rhea again mounts Asuka, this time for some gruesome headbutts. Then 3 of the 4 good guys just focusing on Becky Lynch, not giving her more than a second to breathe, as after being yeeted into the stratosphere, every woman gets beaten and beaten with the counter slowly counting down to 0. Meaning, Lash Legend is now in War Games. It's her first as well, and she's going to make the most of it, as she goes at it alone against 3, them 3 being Io Sky, Alexa Bliss and AJ Lee, and Lash is putting up an equal fight to all 3 of them, and eventually she just signals out Little Miss Bliss, strangling her in the corner. All the while, Becky and AJ go at it, and in the other ring, Rhea stalling suplexes the Empress of Tomorrow down. Then Becky and Io do battle up on the cage, leading to the man plummeting to the mat, Io of course joining her through a dive. But Becky is able to quickly get back on top as she and Lash Legend dominate, and so are the Kabuki Warriors who double team Mami. So Kairi goes on to attack Io with a full array of strikes. But now, it's time for a queen to enter war, as Charlotte Flair comes in and immediately goes after the biggest threat, Lash Legend, as after wiping the floor with her, she and her tag team partner then connect a double side effect onto her. Though after throwing her into the cage, whilst Little Miss Bliss targets Lash Legend, Charlotte then comes into contact with Becky Lynch. There's so much history between the pair, and this shows as soon as the 2 begin to fight, with counters on top of counters being traded between the 2, neither having the advantage. But the Queen's freshness gives her the advantage, as she batters Becky with an endless array of chops, forcing her into the corner. However, she puts her down with elbows rather than chops, as she quickly goes to the top rope and beautifully moonsaults and avoided big time Bex. But as she puts Becky into the corner, Lash Legend just hurls Alexa Bliss from one ring to the other, and Charlotte quickly realizes the danger her partner is in, going into the firing lines of Lash Legend, and after several chops, she starts to get overwhelmed. That is until Rhea Ripley comes in as they double suplex Lash Legend, and they both continue to double team on Lash, And again, Lash puts up a good fight, even though the duo of Rhea and Charlotte is too much for her to handle. Bliss is even able to connect the sister Abigail onto the groggy Becky Lynch. All the while, Lash is still being overwhelmed by the former rivals turned friends, as Rhea even grabs her, hoists her up and plants her face first on the top turnbuckle. She needs help, and help does indeed arrive for her in the form of Nia Jax. War Games is officially on, and Nia looks to make an immediate impact, taking down Little Miss Bliss with just one arm. And after dropping an elbow, she goes in on Charlotte Flair. The heels are in complete and utter control as they all hit their big moves on the babyfaces. But all that control changes in a single instant as Io Sky is on top of the cage, though Kairi Sane is forced to meet her up there. However, this goes horribly wrong for her as she gets thrown off the top of the cage. Asuka is furious at her as Io Sky jumps off the cage onto her. The Kabuki Warriors are done, and so is Nia Jax, who gets double teamed by the former Women's Tag Team Champions. The heels are crumbling, which we see when Rhea Ripley Avalanche Riptide's Lash Legend as well. And all that leaves is Becky Lynch to be Black Widowed by AJ Lee. As with her tapping, the babyface squad wins. They stand tall. However, whilst AJ Lee, Alexa Bliss and Io Sky are celebrating, we see Charlotte Flair have an intense stare down with Rhea Ripley. Is this a sign of things to come? Well, before we find out, it's time for the Women's World Championship match between Nikki Bella and Stephanie McMahon. But who will leave San Diego as world champion? Well, the match is on, and the two stars from different eras lock up, and Nikki actually pushes La Primera into the corner, even sheep-shotting her and all, and this fires up Stephanie as she grapples the Bella and takes her from behind, and following an elbow to the back, she takes her down and locks in a headlock. However, Nikki fights back, getting to her feet and putting Vaquer in her own headlock, but she gets pushed off as the champ ducks under, leapfrogs over, and finishes off this sequence with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. And Vaquer just taunts away at her challenger until she rises, with the two locking up again, this time Nikki going from behind. Only this time, Vaquer grabs her neck to put her down and apply a headlock. And Nikki's attempted comeback gets shut down, being arm dragged across the ring. Stephanie is in control on the technical level, so Nikki tries going for a striking game, similarly failing as she gets lit up with strikes including a deadly European uppercut. Then the two lock up one more time, with La Primera just pushing her away, sending Nikki Bella over the edge as she takes her down and just stomps her to Kingdom Come. And once she's satisfied, she turns to punches, mounting her in the process. And after completing this with a slap, she goes to grab her, getting kneed in the side of the head and subsequently headbutted for her troubles. And Nikki rolls out of harm's way, even though the damage isn't that far off. And Stephanie continues dishing it out, smashing Bella's face off the desk and sending her into the steel steps. Then she simply goes back into the ring and out to break up the count, double kneeing the Hall of Famer into the barricade. And after sending her back first into the barricade as well, she goes all the way up to the top rope and crossbodies her on the outside. Then she picks her up and forces each other back into the ring as Vaquer looks for a patented springboard crossbody, which is dodged by the leader of the Bella Army, dropkicking Vaquer down. And from here, she shows that she's been putting in the work, hitting a nice little arm drag alongside kicking her stomach, going into the cover, yielding only a 1 count. So she just drop kicks the back before slowly ascending to the middle rope, calling for La Primera to get up as she rubs salt in the wound by doing her own splash, mocking the Women's World Champion after the fact. Though this taunting backfires when she goes into the cover, as once again she can only get a 1 count. And this just pisses her off as after just smashing Vaquer into the canvas with pure brawling, she decides to take a page out of a certain John Cena's playbook. The STF is applied, although before you know it, Stephanie Vaquer is able to claw her way out of the hold, and once she gets up, she decides to lock in one of her own, though Nikki immediately gets to the ropes, forcing a break. Although with a cheap shot, Nikki is able to get back up and drop Vaquer back down, and she tries another cover, getting a 1 count for the 3rd straight time. So she decides to pay tribute to a legend of the past, hitting a huge spinning DDT. She thinks that's it, even though the count this time can only reach a 2. So she goes for one more. However, this one gets blocked through a plethora of punches, and this gets followed up with another trilogy, this time of headbutts. Nikki Bella has crumbled, so Steph looks for the devil's kiss, though Nikki once again escapes to the outside, and once again she gets quickly caught by a suicide dive courtesy of the champ, and she doesn't let up, throwing her back into the ring and this time connecting the springboard crossbody. Then she sends her into the corner and just headbutts her until she's just a mess. And from here, she charges up and connects the running meteor. And we all know what comes next, as Stephanie Vaquer looks for the corkscrew moonsault, which is nowhere to be found. And Nikki Bella takes full advantage of this for a roll-up. And whilst this doesn't work, it sets up Vaquer perfectly for an Alabama slam on the top turnbuckle, which gets beautifully transitioned into Nikki Bella's fatal blow, a Rack Attack 2.0. This move has won us so many matches in the past, even though it doesn't do the same tonight. She's furious, so she goes for one more, although Vaquer is able to escape with a trio of elbows, which spell the beginning of the end for the Bella Army, as Vaquer brutally powerbomb backbreakers her and just picks her up into and subsequently hitting the SVB. Nikki Bella is done, and La Primera knows it, as she ascends to the heavens and crash lands on a Nikki Bella with the corkscrew moonsault. As with that, Stephanie Vaquer retains. She is still the Women's World Champion, but for how much longer will this be the case? Liv Morgan is back, and she's here to make a statement, as after glossing over a battered and bruised Nikki Bella, she goes straight towards the ring to confront the Women's World Champion herself. Perhaps this is both women's future, and Dominic Mysterio absolutely loves this. Even if he wasn't told, he's stoked to have Liv Morgan back in the Judgment Day. Though when she gets backstage, she actually gives her Dom a mission to prove she is the one true GOAT. She wants him to do the match with no help from the Judgment Day. And whilst this stumbles him, the AAA Mega Campeon accepts this challenge and heads towards the ring. As up next, it's time for a champion to take on a champion, for only John Cena's Intercontinental Championship. Although just like their previous match, Dom looks to cheap shot him, only this time, Cena is able to dodge this attack and shoulder tackles him down. And he does so again, and we all know what comes next. As Cena then looks for a 5-knuckle shuffle, yet Dom kicks back, as he even tries to sneakily roll a Big Match John for the early win, though this fails, as Dom immediately retreats to the outside. But Cena gives chase, however, he's too slow, as by the time he gets back into the ring, he gets super kicked down. And Dom just stomps and trash talks the GOAT, though after one stomp, he decides to lay it into his chest with similar stomps, going into the cover for just a 1 count. So Dom goes for a strike, which gets blocked with him just being headbutted down, subsequently double axe handling his skull and elbowing it all the same. But Dom possum pins the leader of the C Nation, yet Cena manages to escape the roll-up again, as he even kicks back just like Dom did, even taking a page out of an injured Sheamus' book with a bro kick. And Cena immediately held himself into the cover, although a 2 count is all he could get. So he tries to pick him up, yet Dominic manages to slip his way out of it, trying for a 3rd time to roll up the Intercontinental Champion. But once again, this fails. But Dom just rakes the eyes, as from here, he hits a suplex. Maintaining grip. He wants the 3 amigos. He after the 2nd suplex, the 3rd gets countered into John Cena's own. He's going for his own 3 amigos, and this one is connected flawlessly. So he goes to the top rope looking for a frog splash, yet no one's home as Dom drop kicks Cena down, and after hanging him on the ropes, he nails a springboard swanton bomb and goes into the cover. But Cena kicks out just before the count of 2, so he chucks him into the corner and just beats him down. Though Cena of course fights back, even connecting none other than a code breaker. A certain Chris Jericho would be proud. However, this doesn't do the trick as Dom kicks out at 2. So Cena goes for a powerbomb, getting blocked by a trio of punches. As Dom then goes to the middle rope and hurricanrana Cena across the ring. And following a temporary choking, Dom puts Cena back into the corner and lays into him with boots on top of boots, piercing Cena's chest. But eventually, once he's done, he then goes for the 3 amigos one more time. And this time, there's no fight back, with every single part of it connecting. So Dom tries for a cover, finally getting above a 1 count. But the job's not done just yet, as he connects something Roxanne Perez knows all too well. But even this only gets Dominic Mysterio a 2 count. He's growing frustrated, so he decides to cheat, going to grab a steel chair from the outside. Yet by the time he gets back into the ring, Cena is back up, and he restarts the 5 moves of doom. And it's going as smoothly as ever, getting up to where he was at the start of the match. And this time, Dom's leg stays put as the 5-knuckle shuffle connects. Only 1 more move of doom remains, although a trio of elbows blocks the attempted AA, as Dominic Mysterio lines up for the 619, running up and connecting it beautifully. Now all that's left is a frog splash. However, John Cena manages to move out of harm's way. And once Dom rises, it's now John Cena who lines up Dominic Mysterio for the 619, and unbelievably, he hits it. And he then goes to the top rope and hits a Rey Mysterio inspired frog splash. Dominic Mysterio is done, or so you think, as he just manages to survive, and he claws his way up the ropes, which ultimately leads to an attempted clothesline getting blocked as Cena is sent to the outside. And Dominic follows, although he lands awkwardly on his shoulder. The cameras purely focus on John. Everyone is horrified, especially Cena, who attempts to stall for the injured Triple H champ. However, just like in our timeline, Dominic was faking, and with the referee distracted by the medics coming down to the ring, Dominic sickingly low blows John, and the ref didn't see a damn thing, so Dom just nails another 619, and with the referee back ensuring Dom is okay, he flies off the top rope and connects the frog splash, the move that won him the Intercontinental Championship back at WrestleMania. Doesn't do the same tonight. The Mysterio is shook, so he calls for the Judgment Day to come on out, which falls on deaf ears as he turns around into a surprise AA from the exhausted John Cena. And with an arm draped over the mustache man, that still doesn't finish things off. So Cena rises above the ashes and tunes up the band, sweet chin musicking Dom's dirty chin. And with a follow-up stomp paying tribute to a certain architect, he picks him up and nails a second AA. But he's still not done, as he perfectly rolls through with Dom on his shoulders, connecting a 3rd AA before going into the cover and picking up the win. John Cena is still an Intercontinental Champion. He's going into his retirement match as champ. Dominic has lost twice to the greatest of all time, and it's all because of him not wanting to do things on his own. But now, it's time for the main event of the evening, as it's time for the men's War Games match, which starts off with Drew McIntyre and, of course, the World Heavyweight Champion, CM Punk. There's so much history between these two, and this gets shown straight away as the two just duel. They're trading punches like there's no tomorrow, although eventually Punk staggers, which leads to him getting chucked into the corner and battered with relentless punches. But when Drew looks for a boot, Punk manages to block it with his own, firing back with his own striking combination before sending the Scottish Warrior into a different corner, hitting his signature knee strike clothesline combination. Then he goes for a GDS, which Drew gets out of, lariating him down, as he subsequently hurls him into the steel, separating the two rings, being punched down onto it as well. So Drew looks for a suplex, which gets blocked, as it's now his back, which gets crushed from the steel. But Punk then makes the mistake, as he gets back body dropped onto the turnbuckle and face washed twice for good measure. But Punk manages to avoid being smashed into the structure, neck breaking McIntyre down, and he follows this up with an Irish whip power slam just to prove he can lift the bigger man. And after a stomp to the head and knee to the back, he just stomps Drew's leg further twice, as he goes on to climb the cage, deciding to jump off of it to nail his elbow drop. Then he focuses back in on the legs with kicks on top of kicks, before putting him down with some knees in the gut. But with a knee drop to the head, Drew quickly evades a second, taking Punk down before mounting him with punches, as after a kick, he climbs to the middle rope and just karate chops the best in the world's skull. And Drew continues the onslaught, powerbombing him not once but twice, and it damn sure wasn't nice. Though when he goes for a third, Punk trips him up, as whilst Drew crawls up the turnbuckle, Punk builds a full head of steam to hit a second knee as he picks him up, getting countered into a DDT down. Now both men are now bleeding, just like at 2024's Bad Blood. And whilst they continue to fight, Bron Breakker enters the match for his team, bringing a table with him and all. And after setting up the table in the corner, he sees Drew spinebuster CM Punk, joining in on the fun with a standing moonsault. However, as they go for a double team move, Punk tries to fight back, though the numbers game overwhelms him rather easily, this time being able to double team onto the straight edge savior. And following another tag team move, they move to the ring where the table resides. But Punk again tries to come back into the match, only getting him a kick to the gut, headbutt to the back, and elbow to the same area for his troubles. Then both men just taking in turns of manhandling the World Heavyweight Champion, first Bron Breakker, and then Drew McIntyre. And with Drew sending Punk into the middle, and Bron sending him to the other ring, they both just batter Punk with strikes, before Bron lets Drew crumble Phil. So they switch spots, the Scottish Warrior taunting away at his past rival whilst Bron wears him down. That is until he goes for a big boot, which misses, though Bron immediately stops CM Punk's comeback. Then Bron tries striking, which fails horribly, as Drew then tries to give aid, yet this time for a split second the numbers game didn't matter to Punk. But eventually, he gets overwhelmed again, getting pummeled by both men once more. He needs help, and help finally arrives in the form of Cody Rhodes. And he goes right after Drew McIntyre, hip tossing him down, and he just punches his skull 3 times, applying a submission, whilst Breakker and Punk enter their side of land. And thanks to a dive from Punk missing, both he and Cody Rhodes start to be eaten alive, elbows landing in the back of the neck of the WWE Champion. but Drew then crashes and burns into a table, allowing for the champs to get on top. As all 4 men separate once more. The battle lines have been drawn, but with a key counter from Bron Breakker, he's able to almost spear Cody Rhodes out of his damn boots. All the while Drew hits an avalanche white noise. The heels are still dominating, the champs need to come back, which doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon, as Punk is still being dominated by his old flame, Cody is still being overpowered from Braun. It seems hopeless, and this thought gets amplified when Bronson Reed enters the match, aiding McIntyre and taking down Punk, as he then just goes over to his Vision stablemate, watching on as he destroys before he of course joins in. And he's just completely wiping the floor with the face that now runs the place, as he hits him with not just 1 elbow drop, not just 2 elbow drops, not 3 elbow drops, not even 4, but 5 elbow drops all in quick succession. Then he just yeets the American Nightmare into the steel cage, his back scarred from such a thing, as he desperately crawls up the turnbuckle, getting squished and clotheslined by Big Bronson Reed. Even when he tries to fight back, he just gets crushed by any of the 3 heels, ultimately leading to him getting claymored by the Scottish Warrior Drew McIntyre. However, whilst Drew and Ron are distracted by Punk, Cody is quickly able to stagger Bronson and even nails him with a crossroads. Although thanks to Bron Breakker, the Vision and Drew are able to get back on top with minimal fuss. However, looking to change things is that of entrant number 3 for the babyface squad, Roman Reigns, who immediately goes after Bronson Reed, as after taking him down, he then goes into the other ring and turns his attention to Drew McIntyre, battering him into the corner. Though the Bloodline Hunter is able to fight back, plowing the Tribal Chief down, as now the OTC is getting mauled by him and Bron Breakker. But Cody Rhodes then attempts to counter the save, which inadvertently or deliberately leads to him getting wiped out after Roman moved. And because of this, the heels immediately begin to dominate again. Both Cody and Roman are being obliterated by Drew and Braun respectively. Yet when Bronson tries to attack, Roman fights back, getting immediately uppercutted down for his troubles. So Bronson begins to smack the crap out of Roman, dropping him with a super kick. But the babyfaces start to rally, leading to all 3 cornering Bronson, which also leads to Cody getting smacked accidentally by Roman several times, which pisses him off bad. Though before he can retaliate on the Roman, he then accidentally hits Punk, and due to this, after a big fight from the trio, the heels manage to overwhelm the faces once again. And with Drew circling his prey like a shark in water, he picks up the Tribal Chief, rebounds him off the ropes and claymores him down. And Bronson Reed wants another piece of the OTC pie as he comes over to them and just knees Roman in the face. Though after this, with Bronson so fixated on Roman, he doesn't realize Cody coming into that ring, which leads to him getting surprise attacked by the American Nightmare, with all 4 men going at it. No man no longer having the specific advantage over the other, aside from Bron Breakker over CM Punk, as following a belly-to-belly across the ring, he charges himself up and spears the World Heavyweight Champion. He has it done! Though due to the rules of war, he can't cover him, making him increasingly angry, continuing to batter the best in the world. And whilst he does this, Logan Paul brings a table into the ring. But one's just not enough for him, getting another, and another, until finally, the Maverick enters the ring. And he starts off in style by jumping from one ring to another with a cross-body onto Cody Rhodes. Then he goes after Punk, which goes horribly wrong for him as he gets quickly dropped by a GDS. And with the strength of a god, he even then suplexes Bronson through a damn table. But he can't power up Drew McIntyre the same as he gets back body dropped. All the while, Logan Paul holds the table up so Braun can Frankenstein Roman through it. And with Spinebuster through another, main event Jey Uso enters the battlefield with, of course, another 2 tables. as once he's in the ring, Braun instantly tries to take him down and goes over to do the same to Roman Reigns. But Jay is back up as he takes Braun down and elbows him in the head, though Logan Paul grabs the table and smashes it in his face, only startling him for a moment as Jay punches back. Even Avalanche Samoa dropping the Steiner through a table and all. And whilst this is happening, Roman Reigns decks Bronson Reed with a Superman punch, and he follows this up with a spear. And this ripples into Cody Rhodes nearly not one crossroads, not two crossroads, but three onto Drew McIntyre. And with a second GDS to Logan Paul, the faces have fought back. That is until Doomsday arrives. Brock Lesnar is here, and he's got the lifeless Jimmy Uso on his shoulders. It's unbelievable, as after planting Big Jim with an F5 on the ramp, he goes towards the ring. And with the match not officially underway yet, Jay leaves the cage for his brother, though he too gets dismantled by Brock, as with another F5, he enters the cage and immediately stands in front of CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and Roman Reigns. It's a 3-on-1, and due to this, the Dream Team is actually able to overwhelm Brock rather quickly. However, that all changes in an instant, as when Roman Reigns looks for a spear, Brock moves, inadvertently causing it to land on a Punk, and Brock takes full advantage of this, F5ing Roman Reigns and all. Cody Rhodes is the only warrior left standing, and he and Brock just start trading strikes, each being countered by another, though Brock is the far fresher man, as he takes the American Nightmare on the road to Suplex City, planting him with 3 German suplexes all in one single grip. Then with another F5, Brock stands in the ring, bodies beneath his feet, there's no one left to stop him, aside from the man who ends up taking Big Jim's spot in War Games. John Cena is here for the second time tonight, and he is here to aid his friends in war. As with the match officially underway, Cena fires on all cylinders, immediately countering an F5 attempt before nailing an attitude adjustment. But he knows he needs way more, as he fires off not 1, not 2, but 3 Super AAs all in quick succession. Yet he's still not done, putting Braun and Brock in the same corner and just lifting them up for a huge double attitude adjustment. And with one more onto the Beast Incarnate, John Cena goes into the cover and picks up the win for his team. He gets his payback from WrestlePalooza, and he aids his team in his first and only ever War Games match by overcoming the Beast. Blood is healed, sweat is drawn, but with that being said, even when John Cena is gone, perhaps 2 megastars will fight to take his place. As if you like this story, I think this might interest you.